Hey guys, you're watching Mia's New Pair of Glasses, and today we're going to talk about the conspiracy behind sugar, the truth about sugar, how information regarding sugar and our health has been suppressed, and what you need to know about how sugar affects the body. Considering that sugar has invaded almost all of our food supply today, it is absolutely a relevant topic to talk about and to convey to others. And before we begin, I want to say that please subscribe to my new partner in YouTube, Brian Austin Lambert 33. And some of you have already gone over there, but just so you know, the topics of my last few videos, the grounding, the copper, and the lead paint, those were all topics given to me by Brian, and he's got some really amazing things over on his channel. So please go over there and sub, because he is going to tell you about the nature of our world and what is headed our way as a result. And I just want to make a quick comment to those who have been subscribed to me for a while, and you know, I was doing a lot of videos showing what was going on in the skies, and I will be doing that at some point again in the future. But my main goal right now, considering the information that I have about what is going to happen in our world, it's a worldwide catastrophe that's coming. An important thing to me now is to get out information to allow people to get healthy and to feel good. And if you don't know why you're feeling bad, you're not going to know what to do and what to change so that you can feel good and you can be one of those that survives this catastrophe. So it's really, really important and pertinent with what we are headed into. And sugar is the main drug that people are unknowingly poisoning their body with. So we're going to take a look at that right now. So what we are talking about is white sugar, or refined sucrose. It is a highly refined carbohydrate that is technically classified as a drug. Refined sucrose is a drug. If we look it up in Webster for a definition, it says, a substance used as a medicine in treatment of a disease, or a narcotic, which is a drug that dulls the senses. So how many times have you ever considered or heard that sugar is a drug? As sugar is so widely used and pushed. Just like alcohol and tobacco, sugar is actually a drug. And sugar has an addicting taste, and with addiction comes greed. Everything that is addictive in this world is used for profit, and that is the same with sugar. So why is sugar not considered a drug? Well, if we consider it a drug and overconsumption of sugar and addiction, health insurance companies would have to offer finance for therapy for obese clients. Schools would no longer be allowed to sell sweets and soft drinks. Producers of sports drinks that are bursting with sugar should be sued over misleading ads, and so on. So that's where we're at with that. That's the reason why. It's not actually addressed in reality for what it is, and it's all comes down to money. Sugar is actually a form of addiction. It's just as hard to get rid of the urge for sweet foods as of smoking. Thereby, diets only work temporarily. Addiction therapy is better. You want to know the biggest drug dealing holiday on the planet? That would be Halloween, along with other holidays like Easter, where they hook your children right out of the gate when they're young with sugar. These are billion-dollar corporations that are getting their first customers, first experience with sugar, for a lifelong battle with a sugar addiction. It's no different than a drug dealer giving out free samples to increase their customer base. It's the same thing, only this is happening with our children from corporations. So now let's talk about the cover-up. In 2016, after reviewing internal industry documents, researchers at the University of California, San Francisco showed that a trade group called the Sugar Research Foundation paid Harvard scientists to review what the literature said about the role of fat and sugar on heart disease. The review, published in 1967 in a prestigious journal, downplayed the role of sugar, blaming saturated fats instead. So if you can remember back when there was that big push and that big craze that saturated fats was the problem, that was all distracting from what they knew about the role of sugar. So last year, the same UCSF group published another paper claiming that in the 1960s, the SRF also stopped funding research that began to show that rats on a high sugar diet had high levels of triglycerides, which increase the risk of heart disease. They were able to derail the discussion about sugar for decades. So this, the facts that were coming out about sugar, and they've also found that in the brain, sugar releases a higher payoff than cocaine does. So they were able to push all this off, just like with the lead paint. Years later, we're finding out that that these studies were completely covered up or derailed to allow for the coming infiltration of sugar in everything in our food. Another example is that the food industry keeps funding the research today with dire consequences. In 2015, the New York Times reported that Coca-Cola had paid scientists to distract the public from the connection between sugary drinks and obesity. In 2016, the Associated Press showed that candy makers funded a study showing that kids who eat candy weigh less than those who don't. And the examples of this corruption go on and on and on. Where will you find sugar? Everywhere. Added sugars are found in fruit snacks, cereals, breakfast bars, chips, breads, crackers, frozen pizzas, tomato sauce, nut butters, yogurt, ketchup, mayonnaise, and pretty much every processed item in the grocery store. You can't get away from it. So there's big money behind covering up the truth about sugar. Let's talk about why sugar is poison. So there are two prominent doctors in the healthy living field, Dr. Mark Hyman and Dr. Robert Lustig, and they say that ingesting large quantities of processed sweets can lead directly to a host of health concerns, including obesity, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's disease, and many more. Dr. Lustig has come out and straight up said that sugar is poison. They have written about the myriad of ways that high fructose corn syrup will kill you. They say these sweeteners are as addictive as cocaine. To make matters worse, according to Dr. Hyman, we give these substances to our children in massive doses. So why is it so bad for us? Well, fructose can only be metabolized by the liver, not a good thing. On top of that, fructose consumption negatively changes the way your brain recognizes consumption. As a result, you keep eating without necessarily realizing you are full. So for example, a soda containing high amounts of fructose will do little to make you think you're even full when you're taking in large amounts of calories. Your brain doesn't get the message that you have consumed much of anything, so it still thinks you're hungry. Having digestion issues? This could be why in your digestive system you have two things to help digestion. You have bacterium and yeast. What you should have is an 80 to 20 ratio, 80% bacterium and 20% yeast. Yeast feeds off sugars. Yeast eats the sugars and increases as the bacteria decreases. The yeast is what gives you the cravings. So if yeast takes over the bacterium, then you will have major problems in your digestion. Sugar upsets that mechanism. Whoever uses sugar wants more and more, even when they are no longer hungry. Give someone eggs, and they'll stop eating at any given time. Give someone cookies, and he eats on even though his stomach is painful. Why does this benefit the companies that are selling these types of foods, because it creates an insatiable appetite, an insatiable desire to carry on eating. Insatiable desire to carry on eating means selling more of these types of foods, which means more money in the bank for the controllers. So I just want to leave you with some final points, and that is, before you listen to another health study, you might want to find out who is funding the research. Because that study we talked about earlier that found that children who eat sweets tending to weigh less than those who don't, the problem with that was the research was funded by the National Confectioners Association, and that is a trade group representing manufacturers of well-known candies such as Snicker bars, Tootsie Rolls, and Skittles. So it's not really hard to figure out, but you just have to do a little digging when you're trying to find out what is best for your health and what is best for consumption. Because if you follow the money, the answers will become clear. So I just implore you to take a look at your sugar intake and what we know about sugar today, and whether you need to make some changes so that you can feel better and have a better chance at surviving our world in the future. So anyways, that's all I have for y'all tonight. Everybody, thanks for watching. Stay safe, be good to one another, and God bless.